Hello, everyone in YouTube land. I just wanted to make a video on this is about the third anniversary of my L5 or L4 F5 disc replacement L5 S1 fusion. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of tell you about my experience, um, because I think my experience might be a little closer to what the average person would experience having this type of surgery. I think when I first started looking around YouTube after my surgery, I would see two things. Well, not on YouTube, but just on the web in general. But people would either say, "Yeah, I did it," and 6 weeks later, I'm back at work. I'm doing yard work. I'm doing whatever. I'm just like nothing even happened. You see a guy in his 65, just nothing that even happened, right? And then you see other people that say for the last 10 years I've been totally screwed. My life is over, and I'm addicted to OxyContin. I think most of us are probably somewhere in between those two extremes, but I never saw a video or anything made for people that might be between those two extremes, probably because by the time you get done with it, you're probably outliving your life. Um, that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. So anyways, yeah, it's been three years since my surgery. I will say that, yes, I am one of the people that did fit the criteria of failed back surgery syndrome, right? I am one of those people, but I am here. I am working out. I go on runs every other day for at least, 3 or 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers sometimes. I surf. I'm back to surfing. So, I, I have flare-ups. I still have things that I'm dealing with, issues that I'm dealing with, but they're minor compared to the early days. So yeah, just to explain my situation a little bit, because I don't know, what situation you might personally be in. But what I had done was let my, I knew I needed the surgery probably 10 years ago. Well, I knew there was a problem 10 years ago. I had sciatic pain. And then about 5 years after that, I knew exactly what was the problem and that I needed surgery. And then I let it go for a further 2.5 years or so before I just couldn't walk again, or I couldn't walk anymore. And so what had happened after all of that was that the disc had constantly been pushing into the spinal cord, and my sciatic nerve had been, constantly being, pinched, because I'm an active person and I just did all the stuff I would normally do, even though I needed surgery. Um, so what happened is that I ended up with scar tissue on the nerve roots. That's best I can tell talking to my surgeon, best I can tell looking at actual medical journals and reading through that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, but I know enough to be able to read through journals and kind of see what the consensus is on different things. And yeah, that's best I can tell is that it was scar tissue on the nerve roots. So what that means is that you have to stretch that out. And it takes a very, very, very long time to stretch out nerves. So yeah, that's just kind of setting up everything. So yeah, I'm doing this a little bit off the cuff. It's not scripted. Yeah, so let's just go to the surgery day one. Day one surgery, given that background, given that I had problems and I wasn't doing anything about it, I woke up after the surgery in the most horrible pain I've ever been in my entire life. And I don't just mean the surgical side. I mean, it was all over. It felt like someone had taken knives and stuck them in my neck and was twisting it. When I woke up, it was horrible pain there in my arms and legs and just everywhere you can possibly imagine. Felt like it was really, really horrible. And I basically stayed in that state for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. I was constantly in pain, constant nerve things going on. There was at one point I was laying, because I was in the bed for probably 6 months, nearly 6 months. I was just in the bed, laying in bed. And there was one time where it felt like there was a spike had been driven through my foot. I didn't even know what it was. I just freaked out and started like trying to hobble down the stairs and out the door. I don't know, it was like instinct or something, and it eventually went away. But anyways, like the nerve complications I had were absolutely insane for those first 6 months. I'd say, and then so yeah, so I went to the doctor. I went to my GP to see kind of like, what can you do about this? And he said, well, here's this thing called Lyrica, which basically made me totally non-functional. And I said, well, how about you how you prescribe me some Valium, because I understand that I'm going to be in pain, but I just need something to sort of get me through the days where it's so bad that I can't function in any way. So that's what they did. That's what I did. I was sort of on and off Valium for the last few years. But anyways, yeah, after that first 6 months, things did start to get like, you could see things getting better. And I would say that, like, if you look at a timeline over the last 3 years, you could start, here's day one surgery and here's where I am now. And it took, that long. It's just a slow progression over. It took me 3 years till I could finally make this video and say, you know what, I feel like a normal person again. I've got flare-ups that happen every now and then. There's a little bit of pain in my mid-back, but generally I'm okay. I'm not, always in pain and always thinking about how I've had surgery. So it took me a long time. It took 3 years. That being said, that's precisely why I met the criteria for failed back surgery syndrome, because the criteria is basically that you are in more pain or worse pain or different pains or so on and so forth 1 year after your surgery, which I certainly was. My spinal surgeon, he was a good guy, he's a good surgeon. But when you ask him, you say, hey, I'm in pain. He's like, well, is your quality of life better? I'm like, well, it depends on what you mean by quality of life. I mean, I can walk now, but before, if I just didn't walk, I was fine. Versus now, I'm in pain all the time, everywhere. So, it depends on what you mean by quality of life. I would say I was able to do a whole lot less in total that year after. So yeah, I definitely met the criteria for failed back surgery syndrome, but I didn't let it get me down too much. I just not the kind of person to just sit around. And so what I did was exercise as much as I could. I went to the physical therapist as much as I could. I was always trying to stretch as much as I could, because best I could tell, like I said, it was scar tissue on the nerve roots. And so I was always just trying to stretch it out more. And that strategy worked. I just kept working out, kept doing things, kept pushing limits. Sometimes I would get put back in the bed. The back would just give out, or whatever. Something else would happen and some horrible nerve pain would flare back up and I might be in the bed for another 2 weeks. That's just kind of how it went. Yeah, so I don't really know what else to say about it. I just wanted to kind of give a quick sort of overview of my experience, and sort of just come out and say, hey, this is someone who had L405, L5S1 hybrid and failed back surgery syndrome, and I run, I surf, I do whatever it is that I would like to do these days, and I'm totally a functional human being again. It just took a very long time. So if you're someone that's sort of like you're in that in-between position, just understand that a lot of it is going to depend on you. A lot of it is going to depend on how motivated you are to sort of work through that pain. I really, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physical therapist, but or medical doctor, not a physical therapist, but I just think that a large part of it comes down to, how much effort do you want to put into it? And if you just sit there in pain and don't stretch and don't push the limits and because you're going to put yourself back in pain, but you can't get out of the pain until you put yourself in more pain, into situations that cause more pain. And if you just sit there on drugs, you're going to sit there on drugs for the rest of your life. So it's up to you, I think. I think you can give everything you've got and try to get out of your situation, and don't ever give up, because like I said, it's a marathon. It takes a long time for some people. If you let it go for a long time, it's going to take a long time to get back to normal. But if you don't give up, there is hope. I am proof that you can get back to doing things that you normally do. Yeah, that's about it. If you guys have any questions or you want me to follow up on anything particular, you can just leave comments, and maybe I'll make a follow up video if anybody's interested. But anyways, yeah. If I guess just to close, if you're someone out there and you're watching this video and you're in pain and you don't know what to do, and look, man, I know it's hard. I'm like starting to tear up thinking about it because it was hard. That was really, really difficult. And yeah, just know that there's hope. You can get through it. You probably will get through it if you're determined enough. Don't let it get you down. Don't get too down, because it's no joke what you're going through, and a lot of people won't understand it. But you can do it. You can do it. All right, I'm out. Take it easy, especially if you just had surgery. Maybe I'll see you later.